Brutal moment. Paralyzed millionaire jokes with hungry girl. You won't believe what happens next. In the heart of an extravagant mansion, laughter echoed off the marble walls, but it wasn't just any ordinary joke. No, this was a moment that twisted and turned through the air like a vice gripping your chest. Albert, the paralyzed millionaire, sat in his sleek wheelchair, a glint in his eye that hinted at childhood mischief. His silver hair gleamed under the brushed gold chandeliers as he playfully jutted his chin towards Tessa, a young waitress clutching a tray filled with gourmet canapés. "How about a snack? Or maybe you'd prefer to go hungry, again," he teased, his voice a smoky whisper that draped the room in anticipation. The stunned guests, dressed in designer clothes, exchanged glances as if deciphering some hidden code. Tessa's cheeks flushed crimson. This wasn't just about food, it was about the power dynamic hanging thick in the air. Suddenly, a tense silence swept through the crowd, like the calm before a storm, thick and unnerving. Tessa's grip on the tray tightened. She was just trying to earn a few bucks, yet here she was, the victim of a cruel joke, the laughter of the elite slapping her in the face. But something crackled in the air, there was anger simmering beneath the surface. Guests began to murmur, eyes darting between Tessa and Albert, perhaps wondering if they should get involved, or bask in the audacity of their host. Then it happened. Just as Tessa attempted to muster a brave smile, Albert's wheelchair jerked dangerously to the side. Gasps erupted around the room. For a heartbeat, you could almost taste fear. It was electric. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect." As whispers spilled through the crowd, Tessa darted forward, her heart pounding like a drum. Could she really just stand by while this spectacle unfolded? Albert chuckled, but there was a wild panic in his eyes. Had he pushed too far this time? Would the rich and entitled finally turn on each other, or would the curtains fall on this charade with grace? But just as Tessa leaned in closer to help, Albert's laughter twisted into something darker. His eyes sparkled, but was it amusement or something more sinister? The once light-hearted facade shattered as a heavy weight settled around them, an undeniable tension binding all. A question hung in the air like a fog: how far would he go to keep control, and what would happen when the joke was finally on him? Tessa moved instinctively, thrusting the tray forward as if it could shield her from the charged atmosphere that surrounded them. The guests leaned closer, their curiosity morphing into dread. No one wanted to miss the climax of this twisted show. An unsettling silence enveloped the room, broken only by the soft clinking of fine china on the elegant dining table. "Let me help you, Mr. Albert," Tessa stammered, forcing a shaky smile. She leaned down, ready to steady his chair, but just as her fingers brushed the wheel, she felt it an electric jolt. Albert's demeanor shifted entirely, the playful glint in his eye had morphed into something cold and calculating. "Help?" he echoed, a smirk creeping across his face. "What do you know about help?" The room bated breath, caught in a web of unspoken tension. Eyes widened, whispers died, only the thumping of her heart filled the void. Suddenly, with a mocking flamboyance, Albert launched a piece of food from his tray across the room, sending it spiraling through the air like a missile. It struck a nearby guest in the chest, and laughter erupted, but it was hollow, a nervous chuckle of disbelief. Panic spilled into the air. What had started as a cruel joke was escalating into chaos, and all Tessa could do was watch. Her body felt numb with disbelief. In that second, she realized this was no longer about her or the platters of food. This was a game of dominance. The line between humor and humiliation blurred sharply. Guests were shifting uncomfortably, some scrunching their noses as if to say, "What on earth is happening?" Others relished this new dance of desperation, caught between shock and twisted delight that a familiar face in the crowd, Marge, the social elite from the country club, quickly shot a glance towards Tessa, her eyes filled with a mix of disdain and glee. It was a reminder that in this world of the ridiculously wealthy, pain was often merely a spectacle. Isn't this rich? Marge spat loudly enough for everyone to hear, laughter spilled freely once again, but this time, Tessa felt an involuntary flood of anger rising within. With her heart pounding in her throat, she realized she could no longer be a bystander. She squared her shoulders, ready to confront Albert. "You can't treat people this way." The room went hush, like a record screeching to a halt. Every gaze turned sharply towards her. Even Albert was taken aback. He looked her dead in the eyes, a creeping sense of contempt darting under his skin. "And you think they're listening?" he sneered, practicing his villainy. "This is the game we play when wealth and power dictate the rules, my dear." At that moment, a murmur of rebellion rippled through the crowd, uncertainty sparking amongst the guests. Would they join her? Tessa stood there, the tray forgotten in her grasp. She felt emboldened, even in the face of such contempt, but just as she thought she might sway the tide, a voice crackled through the mansion speakers, stony and unfamiliar. "Mr. Albert, we need to talk now." Eyes whipped towards the corridor, dread settling over the room like a heavy fog. Who could interrupt this heated moment, and why now? The tension hit visceral, the stakes had just been raised. What kind of chaos was about to unfold when Albert was confronted with a reality that threatened to strip him of control? Tessa's heart raced. Were they prepared for what would come next? The atmosphere thickened with suspense, waiting to explode into something unthinkable. Little did they know, the real joke was yet to come. The lights flickered, casting erratic shadows across the room as everyone turned to the entrance, where the voice had echoed. Tessa's pulse raced, adrenaline pumping through her veins. This unfamiliar interjection shattered the illusion of control that Albert held, and a tangible ripple of apprehension spread through the crowd like wildfire. From the darkness of the corridor emerged a figure cloaked in menace, tall, imposing, with sharp features and an expression that promised trouble. It was Vincent, Albert's business partner, and by the look on his face, something sinister was afoot. Murmurs swept through the guests, their horror mingled with a curious thrill. They leaned in closer, eyes wide with anticipation, half terrified of what would unfold. Vincent Albert's voice dripped with feigned charm, but Tessa could see the subtle twitch of his fingers clenched and ready for whatever storm was brewing. "I wasn't expecting you." Clearly, Vincent replied, his tone flat as he advanced into the room, authority radiating from him like a heatwave. "We have a serious matter to discuss. Immediately." Tessa swayed on the spot, unsure where to look. The tension was unbearable, a living entity writhing between the guests, entrapping them in a web of dread. Would he expose Albert's dark dealings? Was this what she sensed simmering beneath the surface? "Can't it wait?" Albert asked, laughter ringing hollow. But there was a tremor beneath his bravado, a crack in his facade that didn't go unnoticed. "No, it can't," Vincent shot back, voice firm. "You need to hear this in front of your audience. They might find it enlightening." What did he mean? Tessa's heart sank as the edges of her stomach twisted tighter. The guests barely breathed, anticipation coiling like a spring. Albert's carefully maintained dominance was suddenly at risk. She could almost see the gears turning in his mind, plotting to regain control. The air crackled with uncertainty, heavy with the promise of impending revelation. Vincent stood close enough for Tessa to see the glimmer of something dark in his eyes. All those years of deception. It's all about to unravel, my friend. With every word, the room shifted. People exchanged glances, brows furrowed as speculation ignited their imagination. A statement so potent it threatened to break the thin ice stretched over their shared silence. Suddenly, Albert's lips thinned into a snarl, his bravado fleeting. "You wouldn't dare." The shimmer of fear in his eyes was almost refreshing to Tessa. Here was a man who held court in a world built on privilege and intimidation, now at a loss. "That's where you're wrong," Vincent leered. He stepped back, his posture shifting, revealing something in his hand. It glinted under the lights, a small electronic device, too ominous to ignore. You think you've won? There are eyes everywhere, and we both know it. The guests gasped collectively. The atmosphere shifted again, an invisible gust sweeping through, filling the room with a kind of primal panic. Tessa clutched the edge of the table to steady herself. The sinister undertones rose to a shout within her chest, pushing against her resolve. Enough! Albert boomed, voice trembling at the edges as he fought to maintain his facade. You talk of betrayal, but you're the one who has been plotting with Vincent. Waved a dismissive hand, cutting Albert's words short. Let them decide who has been betraying whom. You'll see how quickly their smiles fade. Suddenly the real chaos erupted. Shouts of incredulity filled the air and dozens of whispers turned into a cacophony of disbelief. Tessa's stomach churned as she tried to grasp the unfolding situation. Just as clarity began to surface, a loud crash echoed from the kitchen, drawing everyone's attention. Cookware went clattering to the ground, and a piercing scream sliced through the noise. Get back! Someone yelled, terror seeping into their voice. In the midst of the chaos, Tessa's eyes darted towards the source of the sound, dread pooling within her. She had to know what was about to happen next. Was this the moment everything would shatter? Would the truth finally slip through the cracks, or would it be buried deeper in darkness? No one could have predicted how rapidly they were hurtling toward a nightmare they could never escape. The kitchen door swung wide, and a shadowy form emerged. Lila, the head chef, stumbled back, her face twisted in horror as she clutched her apron like a lifeline. Blood stained the white fabric, splattering in stark contrast. The guests gasped louder, some covering their mouths, others stepping back. What happened? Tessa's voice trembled as she edged closer to get a better look. Panic gnawed at her insides. What had they stumbled upon? Lila's eyes darted around the room, fear flickering like a candle in the wind. There's someone there hurt. She managed to choke out, her breaths quick and shallow. Who? Albert demanded, his mask slipping, revealing the raw nerves beneath. What are you talking about? Without answering, Lila turned back toward the kitchen. The tension in the room sharpened, everyone holding their breath, waiting for the next moment to unfold. Vincent's eyes gleamed with a mix of anticipation and amusement, like a predator watching its prey scramble for safety. In the corner of the room, Tessa noticed a couple of guests whispering frantically, their faces turned down, horror-stricken. She didn't need to hear the words to recognize the fear. They all sensed it, the imminent threat that loomed like a thick fog. Lila stumbled back into the room, her frantic gaze now fixated on them. We need to call the police. Someone was attacked. I don't know who did it, but her voice cracked, and tears streaked down her face. As she spoke, the whispers crescendoed into shouts. This is a joke, right? Someone laughed nervously, but it was hollow, and the sound echoed mockingly in the tense air. The room was tense, charged, the atmosphere pressing in like a vice, and a single thought pulsed through Tessa's mind. This was no joke. Albert's eyes were wild, darting from Lila to Vincent, desperately searching for allies. You think this is a game? You choose this moment to bring chaos? His fury was palpable, but it was rapidly unraveling. Chaos? No, dear friend. This is the reckoning, Vincent said smoothly, his tone dripping with satisfaction. A fate that was set in motion by your recklessness. He gestured toward the kitchen, a menacing smile threatening to split his face. The crowd surged forward, whispering and pointing toward the kitchen, each person desperate to peek through the door. A mixture of dread and morbid curiosity hung thick. What lay in wait beyond that threshold? Everyone! Stay back! Albert shouted, raising a hand, but he was no longer commanding respect, he was a drowning man flailing. This isn't the time for panic. Panic, however, was already here. People shifted nervously, glancing at one another. Tessa pressed her fingers against her temples, heart pounding like a drum. If someone had been attacked, if there was blood spilled, what did that mean for them? What awaited them in the shadows of the kitchen? Lila continued to sob, her strength dissipating as she sank against a nearby chair. I saw him, I swear. They're still back there. Enough. Albert roared. He was losing it, unraveling at the seams. Tessa realized that he was as terrified as they were, possibly even more so. Are you sure it's safe to stay here? Tessa ventured, her voice barely above a whisper. Vincent laughed softly, his gaze unyielding. No one is safe, dear Tessa. Not anymore. Suddenly, a chilling scream erupted from the kitchen, piercing through the tension like glass shattering. The guests froze, fear freezing them in place. What had Lila seen? Who was back there? The thought ricocheted through Tessa's mind, a haunting riddle begging for answers. The night was spiraling into something dark and unfathomable. Tessa could feel the pull of gravity shifting, the world tilting dangerously. Panic was no longer an option, it was a guaranteed reality. Everyone stood on the precipice of something awful, teetering toward the abyss, and just as eyes darted back toward the kitchen, a figure lurched out into the room. Bloodied, broken, and unrecognizable. What had they all walked into? Was this the moment the dam would break, revealing truths that no one was ready to face? The figure stumbled into the light, and the room collectively held its breath. Tessa's stomach twisted. She wished she hadn't looked. Clarity vanished as the shock set in. A dark, crimson-soaked shirt clung to the body, frayed edges whispering stories of violence. She couldn't make out the face through the chaos of blood and terror. Get back! Lila screamed, her voice a raw edge. Tessa felt herself instinctively step back, shaking her head as if to clear the nightmare before her. The other guests mirrored her uncertainty, eyes wide and fixated on the horror before them. Who is it? Someone whispered, barely able to croak out the words. For a moment, it seemed like time stopped. The figure swayed, shaky hands reaching up to wipe some of the red from their face, letting it smear across their skin. Tessa's heart dropped as the recognizable features began to emerge. It was Paul, the waiter. He was gasping for air, eyes wide with confusion and pain. You've got to help me, he croaked, voice thin. Blood trickled from his brow. His gaze darted around the room, searching desperately for a lifeline amid the sea of panicked faces. Call an ambulance. Someone shouted, but their voice was swallowed by the mounting chaos. Why hasn't anyone called the police? Lila cried again, her composure slipping. We need to do something now. Tessa glanced at Albert, whose face was pale, almost lifeless. He seemed lost, caught in a web of disbelief. What do we do? He muttered, as if hoping for direction from the growing cacophony that enveloped them. Vincent, however, stood unmoved, observing the scene unfold with a chilling calm. He chuckled faintly, the sound unsettling amidst the chaos. The hero draped in blood, how poetic, he quipped, eyes still gleaming, relishing every second of the horror. Shut up, Vincent! Tessa shouted, her voice breaking through the noise, alarm driving her. This isn't a joke. But deep down, she recognized that he wasn't the only one who seemed thrilled by the unfolding calamity. Paul's breathing was shallow, the room's energy swirling around him as if trying to hurry his exit from it all. Suddenly, he braced himself against the wall, letting out a choked gasp. The knife. I tried to stop him. The words hit Tessa like a punch. Who had attacked him? An freezing realization crept into her mind. Was there more than one threat? The doors, the windows, every exit could be compromised. Confusion tangled with mortification as Vincent leaned closer, a hint of admiration flickering in his dark eyes. You see? He said, vibrating with glee. This is the true nature of our little gathering, isn't it? A dance with mortality. You're sick. Tessa snapped, rage igniting within her. But before she could say more, Paul's eyes rolled back in his head, the tension in his body subsiding. Help him! Lila screamed, rushing forward, but Tessa's legs felt like lead. She wanted to help, but a chilling fear wrapped around her heart. Panic ballooned in the room, voices overlapping as everyone moved at once, questioning and scrambling. Tessa's mind spun. If Paul was hurt, who else might be? Who was the assailant lurking? Their truths and secrets would boil up to the surface, just as soon as the police arrived. The thought sent a jolt of anticipation tinged with dread through her. Would their sins come to light under the harsh scrutiny of flashing lights? As if answering her question, a new noise broke through the chaos, a second scream from the kitchen, this one piercing and desperate. "Stay together!" She shouted, but that plea was swallowed whole by the frantic whispers of the crowd. At that moment, a new figure stepped into the doorway, silhouetted against the shadows of the kitchen, holding something gleaming in the dark. What new terror was about to emerge? Tessa felt the weight of secrets saturating the air. Something far worse than blood awaited them all. The door creaked as the new figure stepped into full view, and the aroma of blood mingled with something darker, something rotten. Tessa squinted against the light, trying to make sense of what she was seeing. It wasn't just any figure, it was a woman tall, with a wild mane of hair that seemed to capture the shadows around her, framing a face twisted by need and fury. In her hand, reflecting the harsh lights, was a long, gleaming blade. Tessa's heart surged, panic screaming louder than before. "Who are you?" Tessa couldn't help but ask, her voice trembling, hoping the stranger would answer with reason. But the woman merely chuckled, a sound that sliced through the mounting hysteria like the blade she wielded. It was a sound devoid of warmth, devoid of grace. "I'm the one who knows what's truly at stake here," she hissed, stepping forward. "And you're all in way over your heads." As she advanced into the room, the guests instinctively shuffled back, forming a haphazard circle, eyes darting between the woman and the limp figure of Paul, still slumped against the wall. Fear tightened around Tessa's throat, each breath becoming heavier, almost a weight she couldn't bear. "Put the knife down!" Lila screamed, stepping gingerly forward, her own feeble bravado masking the terror beneath. "You don't have to do this." But the woman only grinned, revealing teeth edged with the darkness of her intentions. "Oh, but I do. Don't you see? It's already too late for Paul, and now, it's time for the rest of you to face the truth." A shudder ran through Tessa. Truth? What truth? The secrets lurking in every crevice of the mansion suddenly felt like monsters ready to pounce. The surrounding faces were painted with disbelief, betrayal mixing with horror in equal measure. Each one of them had something buried beneath the surface, something that could twist a celebration into a nightmare. The woman spun the knife with a dancer's grace, her fingers adept at wielding the thread it posed. Tessa's mind raced. What if the assailant had escaped and was still inside? Paul hadn't been the only target. Suddenly, Vincent, who had remained oddly composed through it all, broke the silence with a laugh. "This is thrilling. It's like a twisted game. But who will win?" His eyes danced with something wicked, as if he wanted this chaos to escalate, to devour them all. The madness in his gaze was contagious as whispers started igniting around the room, fear fueling their impatience. "That's enough." Tessa cut through the tension, stepping forward, unable to hide the tremor in her voice. "We need to stay calm. Focus. We have to think. Calm." The woman's laughter echoed, a jagged sound that sent chills down Tessa's spine. "You think you can think your way out of this? Some things can't be undone." Then, like lightning flashing in a storm, the atmosphere shifted. A rush of desperate determination surged through Tessa. She was going to let fear dictate their fate. "Why are you doing this?" she demanded, steeling her voice. "What do you want from us?" The woman paused, catching Tessa's gaze, an unsettling intensity flickering in her dark eyes. "What I want, dear, is far simpler than you realize. It's justice." Before Tessa could respond, the room erupted as Paul's body jerked, gasping for breath, clawing at the wall. Panic reigned as every eye turned back to him. The door behind the woman creaked again, leaving just enough room to glimpse shadows shifting and lurking, restless. "Run!" Tessa yelled, adrenaline flooding her veins as she took a step back, heart racing. The weight of the moment smothered her resolve. They had to get out. Just as she turned, she heard the knife hit the ground with a thunderous clang. Fear paralyzed her as chaos erupted, everyone bolting for the exits. But where was safety in a room that echoed with muffled screams and a dark promise? And in that moment, a single thought seized her: the doors weren't just barriers, they were traps waiting to close. "Don't let her get away!" Tessa shouted, locking eyes with Lila, urging her to join the frantic dash. But a shadow loomed, blocking what they thought was their escape. What had been lurking quietly behind those doors was now something to dread. "Have you ever wondered," the woman whispered from the shadows, her voice sultry and low, "what lies beneath the surface of your so-called lives?" As she took her first step forward, the air felt electric, crackling with menace. What had they unleashed, and how deep did the darkness go? Tessa's heart pounded as she scanned the room for an exit, beads of sweat trickling down her back. Panic rippled through the crowd like a wave, faces contorted in fear. Lila grabbed her arm, her eyes wide. "We need to stay together." The woman grinned, her smile a wicked crescent in the dim light. "Ah, but togetherness won't save you. Not anymore." With another swipe of her arm, she seemed to silence the room, as if a thick fog had settled over their cries. Tessa felt the chill grasp her, the warmth of adrenaline coursing through her veins turning to ice. Paul's body slumped back against the wall, eyes now wild and unfocused, chaos ringing in his ears. "No, not now," he gasped, deeper breaths hitching with each word, like a man drowning in his own desperation. "Vincent." His laughter morphed into something akin to delight, a man taken by glee in the face of horror. "Maybe it's time we all faced some truths," he shouted, his voice cutting through the noise. "Reveal your secrets, people. Aren't you tired of hiding?" "Shut up, Vincent!" Tessa yelled, her voice cracking under the strain of fear. She couldn't stand him, couldn't stand any of it. With each laugh, the walls felt tighter. "You think your petty secrets are worse than what is happening here?" The woman taunted, eyes narrowing as she surveyed the crowd. "Oh, you're all so naive. What's about to unfold will strip you bare, reveal who you really are." Tessa stole a glance at Lila, her breath coming quick and shallow. "We can't let her do this. We have to fight." A figure slipped into her line of sight. It was Blake, a soft-spoken guest who had always kept to himself. Now, he stood wide-eyed and trembling fingers dropping a half-empty drink on the floor. "Someone needs to call the police," he stammered. "Do you really think they would arrive in time?" The woman challenged, taking a menacing step closer. "Your lives won't be saved by law enforcement. They're going to witness the mess you made, and I'll make sure they know it." An icy realization settled in Tessa's gut: the woman was right. They were trapped in a game, each person a player with dark ties binding them to one another. The hint of betrayal hung heavily in the air, a bitter tang mingling with fear. "That's enough, all of you!" Tessa shouted, desperation breaking through her facade. "We can stop this. We have to understand together." But before she could make her plea resonate, Paul lunged forward, his face twisted in agony. It was a wild move, one birthed of pain and terror as he clawed at his throat. "She's right. No more secrets," he cried, his voice hoarse. "They'll all come out. Oh, God. The things we've done. Teamwork is for children." The woman mocked, her dry chuckle inching closer to full laughter, echoing like thunder in the tension-filled room. "Someone will pay the price tonight. It could be any of you." Tessa felt the air thicken as she fought for clarity. "No. You can't do this." But as the marble floors reverberated with their shouts, Tessa realized a deeper terror laced her words: no one could save them now. Then, from the shadows, a figure emerged, lifting itself out of the darkness with the grace of a predator. It was a silhouette that had been lurking since the chaos began. An ally or another pawn? Hope and dread mingled as everyone turned toward the new presence, breaths held tight and hearts racing as the unknown loomed before them. Are you ready to discover what is truly beneath the surface? The newcomer asked, voice smooth yet dripping with malice. Tessa felt a chill crawl down her spine. In this house filled with secrets, a new threat could be the end of them all. What twisted fate awaited them with every revelation? What else would come boiling up from those hidden depths? The figure stepped out of shadows, the light revealing sharp features and an unsettling grin. Tessa's breath hitched, and she instinctively stepped back, tugging Lila with her as the laughter echoed back in the room. Who are you? Tessa managed to force out, her voice trembling like the air around them. Names don't matter, the newcomer replied, spinning their words like silk. What matters is the game. And oh, how I love a game. The crowd's murmurs bounced against each other, confusion weaving through. Tension thickened further. Tessa turned to Paul, who clutched his throat, his eyes darting wildly, gathering their own terror. Game. Lila whispered, wide-eyed. Yes, a deadly one. The newcomer resumed, glancing around the room as if savoring the sight of their fear. And you, my dear friends, are the players. Tonight, you will all face your greatest fears and your greatest regrets. Stop! Blake shouted, his voice quaking. You can't do this. The woman from before pointed a finger straight at him, and laughter erupted, ringing so loud that it drowned out the crowd's desperate cries. Oh, but I can. And you'll learn the hard way just how heavy the truth can be. Tessa didn't know how to react. Panic clawed at her chest. She needed to focus. This isn't game, she yelled, firmer now, the words hanging heavy in the air. This is our lives. Your lives are born from deception. The playmaker leaned closer, eyes glinting with mischief. Let us strip them down, layer by layer, until nothing is left but raw truth. You'll confess, or I'll make sure everyone finds out your darkest secrets. The room erupted into chaos again, voices rising as frantic pleas filled the space. Friends became enemies, laughter mingled with sobs. Tessa felt the ground underneath her begin to shake. This was spiraling fast into madness. Shut up! Tessa shouted, drowning in frustration. Just tell us what we have to do. The woman's wicked smile widened, lighting up her face. Ah, Tessa, the fire in your heart. That's more like it. Very well, this is how it goes. We'll each take turns, share something hidden, or I reveal your secret for you. The crowd gasped, shock rippling through their ranks. Tessa's mind raced as she tried to grasp the implications. They could lose everything: reputations, friendships, lives. What if we don't play? Paul's voice faltered, but resolve lingered in his eyes. No one leaves without playing, the newcomer replied, voice dripping with amusement. Not until their truths come tumbling out. Think of it as a cleansing fire. Oh God, Lila whispered, trembling beside Tessa. What if we don't survive this? I can't. Tessa took a deep breath. We will survive, Lila. We just need to stick together, no matter what. But even as she spoke, doubt gnawed within her. The room felt suffocating, the stakes life and death. Tessa caught Vincent's eye, his expression was a mixture of thrill and dread. She could sense the dark undercurrents building, a storm waiting to break. I'll go first. Vincent suddenly shouted, standing tall. The boldness startled everyone. I have nothing to hide. Ah! Bold, Vincent. The woman twirled a finger through the air, nodding approvingly. Let us see how long your confidence holds. As he began to share, the energy shifted. Tessa's heart raced. Would Vincent's secrets send ripple effects through the crowd, turning allies against each other? Just remember, dear friends, the newcomer added, leaning closer. What you find tonight, the truth might shatter you. Tessa felt herself swaying between fear and hope. She knew it was coming, the brutal unveiling of truths that could fracture their very selves. Would she stand for the sake of friendship or drown in the tide of revelation? As Vincent revealed his truth, the walls seemed to pulse as if the house itself reacted. And in that moment, Tessa glanced toward the shadows where the newcomer had come from, questions bubbling up inside of her. What truth lay hidden there, waiting to erupt? Vincent's voice trembled as he began to peel back the layers of his carefully constructed persona. I've been lying for years. Each word felt like a dagger, slicing through the frayed fabric of their friendship. I didn't come here for the right reasons. I wanted to prove I was better than all of you. Better than Paul, better than Tessa, but deep down, I'm scared. A choked sob escaped him, infecting the room with raw vulnerability. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Tessa felt a jolt of electricity, the kind that makes your skin prickle. Who knew what darkness lurked in Vincent's heart? And would it turn them all against him? That lingering question gnawed at her stomach, but the figure didn't allow the moment to breathe. Delicious. But still not enough, the newcomer teased, her voice trailing off like silk woven with poison. I think it's time for someone else. She fixed her gaze on Paul, whose face paled. No, no, no. I can't. Paul stammered, sweat beading on his forehead. Ah, sweet Paul. Seems you have some secrets hidden away as well, she sang, eyes glimmering as she moved closer. What about that night last summer? The accident, remember? Suddenly, the room held its breath. The noise hushed. Tessa's heart raced as she watched Paul's expression shift from disbelief to terror. I didn't mean it. It was an accident. His voice cracked, panic spilling out of him. Please don't. Oh, but you wanted to get away, didn't you? The woman continued, taunting him like a predator with its prey. Just a little push on the gas, a little swerving, and the truth would be been buried forever. Stop it. Tessa shouted, adrenaline coursing through her veins. This is sick. You don't get to manipulate us. But her words bounced off the walls, falling flat against the reality crumbling around them. The tension turned palpable, thick as syrup. The crowd shifted restlessly, casting furtive glances at one another, eyes betraying what they feared was about to happen. Would they turn on Paul? Someone has to face their fears, the newcomer cooed, each syllable laced with wicked delight. After all, we wouldn't want the truth to die now, would we? Enough. Tessa insisted, stepping forward. She could feel the weight of the crowd's gaze, their hesitation hanging in the air. It was terrifying. But she couldn't stand by and watch Paul drown under the pressure. We're not your pawns. With that, the woman laughed, a sound like shattered glass. Oh, Tessa, how brave you are. But you will learn what bravery really means. The lights flickered, casting twisting shadows that danced across the walls. The atmosphere grew electric, crackling with anticipation. Tessa's resolve waned, and fear tightened its grip like a vice. Fine. Paul screamed, eyes wild. I'll tell you. I didn't mean to hurt anyone, I just wanted to escape, and I thought everything spiraled away from Tessa's grasp, the secrets and lies racing to the surface. Would Paul confess? What undisclosed horror would follow? She felt sick, but then, just as quickly, a spark of determination ignited within her. Everyone is hiding something. Blake shouted, aiming to divert the attention. I'm not afraid. Just name your truth. The newcomer's smile broadened, and in that moment, Tessa saw the twisted delight in the eyes of their captor. This was no longer a game, it was a battlefield. As the room erupted into accusations and disbelief, Tessa could see at the shadows from the corner. They watched, waited. What was lurking there? The question gnawed at her. What lay beyond that veil of darkness? The tension lingered in the air, threatening to snap like a taut rope. Tessa felt her heart race once more, the beat echoing her desperation. She knew one thing for sure, they hadn't even begun to scratch the surface of the horrors awaiting them, and as the next player stepped forward, Tessa couldn't help but wonder would anyone make it out alive. The room buzzed with panic as Paul surrendered to the pressure. His voice barely above a whisper, he cracked open the door to his darkest fears. I thought I could leave it all behind, the accident, the guilt. I never wanted anyone to get hurt. His words hung in the air like a thick fog, everyone caught between disbelief and horror. Tessa felt the ground shift beneath her feet. Secrets brewing like a storm, ready to drown them all. She wished she could just rewind time to when laughter filled the mansion, not terror. There it was again, the chaos building, everyone on edge. You see. The woman sneered, eyes alight with sadistic joy. Each of you harbors a sin too big to ignore. This is your reckoning. This isn't justice. Tessa spat, her voice trembling yet defiant. This is fear-mongering. We're better than this. For a moment, all eyes flickered toward her, a glimpse of hope twinkling in the chaos. Together, we can fight back. We don't need to play your sick game. But laughter erupted around her, a twisted chorus of mockery. Fight back. You really think you can fight what's inside you? The woman taunted, her voice oozing disdain. Enough. Albert roared suddenly, his weariness morphing into indignation, each word punctuated by the crowd's silent nodding. I might be a paralyzed millionaire, but I refuse to surrender. He struggled against the confines of his wheelchair, an embodiment of defiance. Vincent leaned back, grinning like a cat between canaries. Well, what do you propose? Let us hear it, rich boy. Albert's steely gaze roamed the room before landing on Tessa. We unite, each one of us has darkness, let us use it to shine light instead. We can share our truths willingly. The secret holder loses power when they risk everything. A murmur of surprise rippled through the crowd. Could it be that simple? Tessa saw a flicker of hope in Lila's eyes, a kindling flame trying to ignite. Who's first? Tessa called out, her heart racing, determination glowing brighter than fear. Blake stepped forward, his hand steadying against the table's edge. I have to confess I overheard a conversation once about a deal that shouldn't have happened. The crowd's breath held tight, as if primed for an earthquake. I didn't report it, didn't think it mattered till tonight exposed the truth. I kept my mouth shut because I was scared. Gasps filled the space, tension simmering, a collective resolve rising. Next. The woman declared, a touch of annoyance creeping into her authority. Lila shook her head and stepped up, voices mixing in a swell of uncertainty. I once shut out a friend in need. Their pain shadowed my own, and instead, I chose isolation. I regret not lending support. The atmosphere shifted. Vulnerability spread like wildflowers blooming in a field of stone. One by one, they shared their fears, regrets, and shames. Each story peeled back a layer, a raw confession leaving them lighter, freer. It electrified the air, igniting connections where fear once dwelled. Tessa, emboldened by their bravery, locked eyes with the woman. What you brought us to fear, we turn to courage. There's no power in secrets shared. The woman's expression morphed from pleasure to fury, her grip wavering on the knife. This isn't how the game is supposed to end. You underestimated us, Tessa said, stepping forward. She reached for the knife, their eyes locked until finally the chilling gleam fell from the woman's grasp, clattering to the ground with a loud clang, the sound echoing the realization they were no longer powerless pawns. Silence engulfed the room, the weight of truth filling the previously charged atmosphere. Paul rallied to his feet slowly, supported by Lila, pretense stripped bare. You won't take any of us down. Not tonight. The guests began to murmur in agreement. Albert spoke next, voice steady, flowing over like a warm tide. They were all in it together now. Let us stand firm against fear. We don't have to let her win. Amid the tension, they found strength in each other, a twisted unity binding them against the approaching darkness. It was a fight for their very selves. With steeled resolve, Tessa stepped back, watching the woman backtrack, shadows dancing like a restless spirit behind her. "You've shown your truth, and it will haunt you," she said, speaking with conviction, but the figure hissed, "You think you understand truth? You've released it, but it still lurks, hungry." Yet it was too late. "You can't control us anymore," Tessa fired back, voice booming now. "Your game has failed." The figure's laughter met them like a thunderclap, threatening to overwhelm. But it was a mere echo now. Realization washed over Tessa as hope radiated through the room. And just before the figure melted into the shadows, she shouted one last word, "Fools." But it was not in her eyes they saw despair. It was in the crowd, united, finally free from fear. Hope ignited in each shared truth. As the darkness shifted, the air lightened, and Tessa knew, they would move forward. Together. The mansion felt alive, no longer a tomb, but a place where light could seep through cracks, where painful histories could transform into wisdom. They had conquered their fears, united by shared truths. Now they had the strength to step into a new tomorrow. There was a long road ahead, but in the heart of that chaotic experience, they had found clarity, connection, and a sense of belonging. It was time to reclaim their lives. Tessa direct to the others, "We face whatever comes next. Together." And in that collective vow, they embraced the dawn of possibility unfurling ahead, the ties of darkness unraveled, each heartbeat echoing freedom, each step a testament to their newfound strength. This was the establishment of their fate, the determination to move forward through unity. If you've witnessed this journey, if you're ready for more incredible stories unfolding from the depths of chaos into light, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share. Hit the like button right now to let the algorithm know you're on board. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories. I want to hear how you felt about this thrilling conclusion. And make sure to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to experience this powerful finale. Let's build this amazing community together.